Imagine, if you will, that you've just walked into the beautifully decorated home of a very important leader. You are about to enjoy a dinner hosted by him, alongside a number of other very important people in leadership positions. Crystal glasses and a pitcher of water shimmer under the lights on the table, and there are a number of utensils on either side of each plate at every position of the table. And suddenly, you're questioning everything. Am I dressed appropriately? Which fork do I use first? And who should sit where? During my assignment to the Wing Protocol Office in Turkey, my exact job was to prepare my leaders for these sort of situations. This meant that I had prepared for these exact sort of situations. A formal dining experience isn't just about knowing the rules, it's about presenting yourself as someone who pays attention to the details and respects the occasion. So today, I'll share what I've learned to help you feel confident and prepared when you find yourself at a high level event. So, let's start with the first thing people will notice: your appearance. Understanding dress code isn't just about knowing what to wear, it's about matching the tone of the event and showing that you belong there. Here are some dress codes that you may encounter as they are described in the Protocol Handbook from the Maxwell Air Force Base Commander Spouses course. The first one would be smart casual. Think a step above casual. Slacks, neat shoes, a blouse, a button up, or maybe a polo. It's perfect for less formal receptions or luncheons, while still maintaining a semi-professional appearance. Business casual, very common, would be the next one. It's professional but comfortable. It still does away with any need for like a tie. So collared shirts, while blazers, sports coats, occasionally sweaters and cardigans are okay. Khakis, modest dresses would all fall here. It's a go-to for most daytime events. Next up, for something a little bit more formal, you would have business professional. This would involve modest suits, conservative ties, so black, brown, gray, etc. Formal dresses, pantsuits for women. You'll want this for anything involving senior leadership or high-ranking guests. Again, slightly more formal, but not as formal as mess dress or black tie. This would be reserved for most evening events, such as galas and banquets, balls, things of that nature. Like I said, this includes military mess dress uniforms or a more traditional black tie civilian tuxedo. And for women, you would have a cocktail dress or an evening gown. Finally, for most military-related events would be service dress, of course. This wouldn't apply to any civilian or anyone in any other sort of thing, but for militaries, any sort of parade, any sort of larger gathering, you'd want to make sure you're wearing your correct ribbons. Knowing what's expected and dressing accordingly shows respect for the occasion and attention to detail before you even say a word. Next, you'd have table etiquette. It's a quiet way to speak volumes about your professionalism, whether you're at a formal banquet or a small intimate dinner with senior leadership. Your behavior at the table will matter. So here are some key areas that you can show that you know the unspoken rules. To begin with, in terms of posture, you sit up straight, both feet flat on the floor, showcasing confidence, attentiveness, keeping your elbows off the table. Rest your forearms on the table, that's fine. Lean slightly forward whenever someone's speaking to you in their direction in order to showcase interest without encroaching on their space. As soon as you sit down, you would want to take your napkin and unfold it and place it on your lap. For a formal dinner, you only unfold it halfway, and you keep the crease that is then created from that facing your body. If you ever need to excuse yourself during the meal, place the napkin on your chair in order to hold your seat. When the meal is over, place your napkin neatly to the left of your plate. Not crumpled, but refolded. If there is a formal toast or someone is speaking, pause all conversation and eating out of respect. Never talk with your mouth full, obviously. Chew quietly. And cut only one bite of food at a time. Pace yourself with everybody else at the table. Never finish before the guest of honor, which we'll get to as well. When finished, place your utensils parallel on the plate at the 4 o'clock position. This silently tells the waitstaff that you're done. These small, significant gestures show a polished, professional readiness for any sort of formal setting. Uh, an elaborate formal table setup can be very intimidating at first glance, but understanding the basic logic behind the layout, um, it can be empowering. Everything on the table has a purpose, and the arrangement follows a precise and time tested order. The most important rule of thumb is that utensils from the outside inward. So, starting with the forks, which will be to the left of the plate, you have your salad fork first, because you begin with a salad. Next, you would have your dinner fork or your fish fork, depending on which course comes first. The fish fork is always smaller. Knives, which would be to the right of the plate, you would always have your dinner knife closest to the plate, with the blade facing inward to the plate. The fish knife would be next. It has a very weird curve to it. It's perfect for removing the skin and scales. And then finally, you'd have the butter knife. Typically, it's above the forks, placed on the bread plate. Next, you'd have the spoons, with the soup spoon being on the furthest right. So you have the plate, the knives, the spoons. Soup spoon on the outside since you begin with soup, and then the dessert spoon on the inside of that. Your bread plate and butter knife, as previously mentioned, are located to the upper left corner above the forks. The butter knife would be resting diagonally, kind of encroaching upon that space. And the bread, you want it to be broken into by hand. You don't need to cut into the bread. That's fine. Glassware, you have your water glass, which will be the largest glass. You have your white wine glass, which is slightly smaller. Your red wine glass, which is slightly larger. And, of course, your champagne flute, which is much thinner. Consider, because it'll either be in a triangle or a line formation, depending on the formal setting, but consider whenever you're setting up your plate the acronym BMW. Bread, meal, water. Bread to the left, meal to the center, water to the right. Other items may include place cards, which are an absolute must for any time you have important guests, so that nobody has to really think of the order of precedence. Charger plate, which would be a decorative base plate that remains until the entree is served, at which point it's removed. And, of course, the napkin, as previously mentioned. Understanding these elements removes the guesswork and shows that you respect the tradition of a formal dining experience. You're not just eating, you're participating in a ritual. Even when you're not dining with heads of state, as just mentioned, order of precedence is an important way to show situational awareness and respect for your guests. Proper seating isn't just a formality. It reflects the hierarchy, relationships, and sometimes the intent of the event, depending on what the host wants to voice. It can establish the respect for the rank and the position, and it can make the VIP feel appropriately honored. Here are a few rules for that. The host always takes the lead. You can plan everything based off where they're sitting. They're either at the head of the table or at the center if it's a round table. After that, the guest of honor, or whoever's highest ranking or has the highest position, would be seated to the right. After that, it goes based off of rank and job title. Job title actually takes precedence over rank. Among equal ranks, date of rank determines who takes precedence, so who put on first. When it comes to civilians, you would treat all of their ranks as if they were ranks in military. Context matters, though. Mission relevance and event purpose can shift this. Perhaps the host wants his deputy or whoever his right-hand man to sit next to someone else while he sits next to someone else he thinks is important. So it's important sometimes to keep that in mind and to throw everything away. Spouses and plus ones are important because you always want to seat them with their partner according to their rank. If you're planning seating, balance it so that couples and personalities don't make things awkward. You have couples, sit them together. Make it symmetrical. Alphabetical order will always be a last resort. If you have people of the same rank and you can't figure out how to seat them, alphabetical order. So, for an example, you have your commander, who is the host. They're at the center. After that, you have the guest of honor. In this situation, we have, let's go with a brigadier general and a GS-15, who is a high-ranking member of the MAGCOM. Just due to position, the GS-15 would actually be the guest of honor, not the general. So you'd have the general sitting to the right of the wing commander, the GS-15 sitting to the right of the commander, the general sitting to the left, and then at that point you would have the deputy or whoever the second in command is sitting after that. This order reflects a very key nuance, which is, like I said, job function and position. If you are ever in doubt, always consult AFI 34-1201, which is the protocol handbook. It's there to help ensure every guest is seated appropriately and with respect. Knowing how to apply these rules isn't just impressive, it shows that you understand structure and you can respect the people behind the positions. In fact, much of what I've shared today, as I previously stated, is both from AFI 34-1201 and the Maxwell Air Force Base Spouses Course Protocol Handbook. These resources are excellent for anyone wanting to improve their protocol and dining etiquette knowledge. Formal dining isn't just about knowing which fork to use. It's about showing that you're prepared, that you're respectful, and that you are detail-oriented in every aspect of your presence, whether it's how you dress, where you sit, or how you handle your napkin. Each choice can reflect you. By understanding the dress code, table etiquette, and the purpose behind a place setting, you can demonstrate more than just manners. You can show that you represent yourself, your unit, and your leadership with a sense of confidence and class that really inspires confidence from others. So next time you're invited to a formal dinner or a high visibility event, don't just show up. Show up prepared, show up polished, and show up like a professional. Thank you.